Okay, hi, we are Paula Walkine and Fred Dawson.
She's Paula, I'm Fred.
In case you needed clarification.
Just need to verify that, that's all.
Yes, and Tim over here from Delaware Rock and Roll Society, as well as myself, are here today to interview Fred and find out all the inside stuff on who Fred Dawson is.
I can hardly wait to hear what I'm going to say.
Okay, me too. Me too. Oh man. Well, one of the things that you always say is success. You have built your life with certainly the financial world, you've had success, the music world, and then you began sponsoring success for other people in your life. And I think that's really fabulous.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, as we stand here in the musical world, so to speak, the first reference to Fred Dawson is with the Fabulous Pharaohs.
The Fabulous Pharaohs, yes. How fabulous they were, almost.
Listen, coming from Little Delaware, you're talking fabulous. How far did you travel?
How far did we travel? We actually drove to Los Angeles.
Okay.
Because we had a free gig on the Sunset Boulevard in the Red Velvet Supper Club. So we drove in our hearse.
Yes.
Pulling a trailer just to prove that you can take it with you. Right across the US of A on Route 66, which was our first song that we recorded.
Yeah.
We thought that was poignant, and it's a big blur now after all these years, but it was an incredible experience. You know, the hearse was had no radio, had no air conditioning.
Oh no.
The good news is we went in February, so it was reasonably okay, you know. But it was an incredible learning experience because, you know, it was in 1968, February of 1968, and we drove right through Montgomery, Alabama. And, you know, I'm an East Coast Delaware boy. I never got out of Delaware, and it was quite interesting to stop at a place, and I must say this because it's so poignant, it really struck me that there was a white bathroom and a colored bathroom.
Oh boy.
And I just stood and stared at that because I couldn't believe it. And a white water fountain and a colored water fountain. And you know, that really hit me.
Yes.
You know? But be that as it may, that was, you know, a negative thing that I learned a great deal about. But you know, by the time we got to LA, it was we made the interesting opportunity, made an opportunity to knock on Pat Boone's front door at his home. We bought a map to the Hollywood
Stars
homes.
The stars.
Guess what? They really live there.
Or at least,
They really live there. Okay.
at least they did that. Yeah.
Yeah, they did that.
Yeah.
So we knocked on his door, and God bless him, he came out in a bathing suit, and we have a picture of us standing next to him in front of the hearse. You know, we had our Nehru jackets on and our beads, our shoulder-length hair. And at that time, I had a terrific set of, you know, chops and a Fu Manchu. That was
Yes.
magnificent. And Pat couldn't have been any more gracious.
Wow. Church key, you know, which doesn't mean, it didn't mean in the vernacular a way to open a door. No, nice, yep, open that beer.
Open that
Or
beer,
that
church
bottle.
key, yes.
Pop that bottle. Craziness.
And to this day, Aubrey Fisher, who wrote the song, our lead guitarist at the time, is still very proud of that song, which he should be. He still talks about it from time to time.
There you go. Who were the other Pharaohs?
Oh, well, we had Eddie Stevenson, who was the lead singer and drummer.
Right.
We had Aubrey Fisher, who was the lead guitarist. We had Bill Rylander, who was bassist.
Mhm.
And moi, and I started on saxophone, tenor saxophone.
Yes.
And then we learned shortly there afterwards that we needed a keyboard player. So I thought, okay, I'll learn how to play keyboard. So I
Okay.
did that.
A reason you went to the B3, you know, the organ, well, that one was lighter weight, I'm sure, as time went on.
Yes, I started with It was a DORIC, DRock organ, this electric, teeny sounding thing that every 5 gigs I had to have it repaired. I kid you not, it was a piece of crap. I bought a brand new, but it was still a piece of crap. We've all musicians have torments over their instruments. You know, we know this as a fact. And at the time, the big deal was to have, you know, the Hammond B3.
Okay.
But A, I didn't have anything to carry it around, nor could I afford to buy one. I mean, they were thousands of dollars at the time when,
Right.
you know, you could buy a portable one for $500, $800, you know.
Right.
But, you know, and an amazing fact is that Felix Cavallari, who was my B3 wannabe guy
Way back.
rock
Yeah.
star to me. I mean, he was really important to me. Ended up being a very good friend of mine,
Yes.
as you know.
Yes.
And he's played on my B3 now, I'm going to say that, and also my other keyboards that I have now. And we're still very good, dear friends. You know, the amazing thing about music, and this is why I endorse it in so many different ways, is that as a kid, you know, I wasn't into sports or that kind of thing. The good news is I still have all my original body parts. You know, I haven't had
Yes.
my body parts replaced.
Right.
I didn't play football or those things. But anyway, music has taken me to some of the most amazing things that mere mortals would never even dream of being able to do, you know.
Right.
And I want other people to experience the kinds of things that I've experienced, because it's been incredible. I just
Yes.
can't believe it, you know.
Yes, you know so many celebrities, you had so many experiences, even just, you know, as young kids, you know, playing to 13,000 people. I mean, come on, you know, come on. It doesn't, sometimes when you tell the story, it almost sounds like the universe was waiting for you, you know, to put you in the seat, and that's really cool.
But what was a hoot is that I would get so far, and I couldn't get over the last thing because I wanted to be a rock star.
Yes.
But I finally figured out I wasn't meant to be a rock star.
Right.
I have something else I'm supposed to do here. I think I'm doing it. I don't know.
I think you're doing it too.
Yeah.
I think you're doing it too. Who was in Mousakis?
Well, we changed the name to protect the innocent.
Huh?
And in Mousakis was still Eddie Stevenson, myself, and a guitarist by the name of Sam Stippo. He was an extraordinary guitarist.
Sam's still around.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yes.
And what's interesting, that in the 9 years that Eddie and I were together, most of the time we were only a 3-piece group. So I played key bass and keyboards at the same time. We went through 23 guitarists in 9 years.
Oh my goodness.
And in the current band, Club Fred, we've gone through 7 or 8. And I'm here to tell you, it's not me, it's the guitarists. They are an unusual breed. They are an unusual breed, okay? I'm just saying.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes.
But it's been fun.
Well, both Tim Cleary and myself, you know, are a part of the musical world.
Well,
so
you know
we're
just as
laughing.
well as I do, yes.
We're laughing.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yeah. Did you always record on reprise?
Funny you should ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie's father
Right.
was our agent. His name was Hugh Lee Stevenson. I learned a great deal from him. He didn't know that at the time, but I learned a great deal about marketing and all kinds of things. And Reprise was his label.
Okay.
And you know, the famous label is Reprise, which I understand
Yes.
was Frank Sinatra's label.
Yes.
So it was not accidental that it was Reprise with a Z.
Yes.
You know, because Mr. Stevenson, we called him earlier in our musical career, but after a while we called him Huey. Huey would do some bizarre things from time to time, and that was one of the many things. You saw some of the posters that he made up.
Right.
Some looked like they were made with crayons, you know, but it worked, you know.
Yes.
Nobody did any of that kind of stuff at all when I was a kid, you know.
Right.
So I learned about marketing and advertising and
Mm-hmm.
and you know, promoting events and those
Right.
kinds of things. And if it hadn't been for him, he took us to LA. I have to give him credit.
That's crazy.
He took us to LA. No other parent of the band even dreamed of doing such a thing. But
Right.
he says, let's go to LA. I said, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So we did, and it was just a tremendous. And what's really bizarre is we went there to try and get on the Pat Boone show, because Pat Boone had an afternoon TV show like Mike Douglas and Joey Bishop and
Yeah, an
those
interview
kinds
show.
of yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got out there, we were not members of the union,
Oh, yes.
so we couldn't do the TV show. But to Pat's credit, he got us tickets so we could be in the audience of his show. And when we were there that day, when they taped the show, they panned the audience, and God bless them, Pat made a big deal out of us coming up to his driveway in a hearse, and we're holding up, the Fabulous Pharaohs sign from Delaware,
Yes.
And so he made a fuss over us on Coast to Coast TV and says,
Fabulous.
we're going to have him back on the TV to perform for us, So we drove back to Philadelphia to join the union. Figured we'd drive back again to be on the TV
Right.
show. And in that time frame, his show was canceled.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Boy, did we
Yes,
have luck.
six weeks were common ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. And like I said, I see this line of not being in the right place at the same time, but carrying the right enthusiasm into things. Now, we talk about enthusiasm. I know there was first of all, I need to remind people, if you were around in the 60s and you saw that hearse tooling around, it was them.
Actually, we went through 4 hearses.
Yeah.
3 hearses and an ambulance, 2 vans, and finally we ended up with an 18-foot diesel truck to lug our stuff around because we had so much crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so much crap that you might need,
Yes.
So-
you never know.
right? You never know.
You know the definition of success. It's when preparedness meets opportunity
There you
equals
go.
success.
There you go.
So if you
Keep
ain't
that
ready,
truck full.
because sometimes that phone will only ring once,
Yes. Yes.
and you got to be prepared to dive for it and go for it. Yeah.
Yes.
So we were always ready, and we lucked out sometimes. We got to play with. We opened for, Chicago. Chicago came to Wilmington. We opened for Chicago at one of the local high schools, and I must confess, we didn't get the gig because we were fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
We got the gig because I was the only guy on the block that had a Hammond B3 that they needed to play.
Okay.
So we got the gig to open for Chicago here in
Amazing.
Wilmington. Yeah, it was terrific. And we've opened for Redbone multiple times. I'd love to tell the story. We were supposed to open up for Redbone in Devon, PA. There's a theater there, Valley Forge Music Fair.
Yeah, the big theater
In the circle,
around.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very last minute, we were bumped from the gig. We couldn't get the gig. So Redbone, bless their pea-picking hearts, invited us to the show as their guests anyway. We went, and we're in a dressing room with Redbone, and I could hear this other band playing. So I sauntered out to see who the other band was that knocked us off.
Right.
I was stunned. I sat down, I didn't move, and this band played their entire show, and they finished every song to dead silence.
What?
They didn't even get they got nothing. And when they got done, they left the stage after doing their complete show, and they're walking by us, and they are just mad as wet hens because they bombed.
Yes.
It was a little band called Kiss.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And I said to myself, you're ticked off now, but, in a year, you're going to be the biggest thing around.
There you go.
Took them 2 years.
Took them to.
I was off a bit, come on.
Oh,
They
well,
made it,
hey,
yeah.
it's going to happen.
That was Kiss.
It's
We
gonna
never
happen.
opened for them, but I saw them
Yeah.
up front and up close with all that. And Gene Simmons had that red crap dripping down his, because
Yes.
they did the whole show,
Blood
fuming the
man.
flames. I'm going, I can't believe this, And either could the audience because they were in shock.
Right.
I mean, dead silence. And then when they finished, they got like, oh, thank God they're done. Bring on Redbone,
Yes.
you know? It was funny.
Yeah, it was a slightly different audience for those two,
Yeah.
between the two.
Yes, it
between
was.
Redbone
Yes.
and Kiss, so.
Redbone and Kiss.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
I have stories.
Yes, you definitely have stories. Who were your inspirations back when?
Ooh.
Who did you love?
Ooh.
Okay.
The man who did it for me. The man who did it for me. I was closing my saxophone case for the last time at 14. And I said, I'm done. I can't stand what they're making me play in junior high school.
Yes.
I don't want to do this anymore. And my mother brought home an album called Yakety Sax. And she says, go listen to this. I said, okay. I disappeared in my bedroom. I came out of my bedroom. I was in flames.
Yes.
I burst into flames.
Yes.
Okay. Listen to what Boots had to play on that saxophone.
Yeah.
Yakety Sax. Okay?
Boots Randolph.
Boots Randolph. And little did I know, at the age of 14, that about 40 years later, Boots would end up being a dear friend of mine,
Yes.
a client. I got him a gig at the Grand Opera House in Wilmington. And he calls me, he says, well, now that you got me the gig, he says, you have to warm up your horn because I'm going to get you to play with me.
Yeah.
I said, oh, Boots, you're
my
so
goodness.
full of it, click.
And your niece.
I thought he was kidding.
Oh, wow.
I seriously thought he was kidding. So he called me about a month later. He says, are you ready? I said, what? He says, are you ready? The show's going to be on in about a month. I said, you're serious? He says, yes, I'm serious. I said, holy crap. So I hung up and I called a saxophone teacher. And I said, I have to be half as good as you in 30 days.
Right.
He says, that'll take about 2 weeks, not a problem.
Oh, bless his
So,
heart.
So I took some lessons, and then when I booked the gig, I bought tickets for all the clients of our firm. We had about 300 clients in the audience, and I never told anybody I was going to play with Boots, just in case I chickened out at the last minute.
Yes.
Okay. I left that exit open, and I remember sitting in the audience when Boots was doing his first set. And he was his usual sensational self, did a great show, and then it was like the first set went by like that. I went, oh my God,
It's me.
it's me now, oh geez. So I didn't say anything, I just got up quietly from my seat, walked back, and I'm standing backstage, had my saxophone strapped on, and Boots' son was there next to me, and he was jabbering about something, I don't know what it was, but obviously, he could not see the terror in my face.
Right.
But obviously God sent him to me that day because I needed Randy there because I would have been a wreck
You needed a distraction.
had I just walked out, okay? So I'm sitting there and Randy's in my ear, and next thing I know, I hear Boots says, welcome, Fred Dawson! And I go, ah! So I walk out. So then we started off on one of the songs that was one of my favorites that I used to hear Boots play all the time. I forget what it is. It'll come to me maybe in a minute. But anyway, I did the song. I was quite proud of myself. I hung with the Boots man. We did
Yes.
it. We did it, okay? And then as soon as we finished the song, the house lights came up. Next thing I know, Boots is stepping back because I'm getting a standing ovation from everybody in the audience.
Oh, Fred. That's so fabulous.
I just
Yeah.
get chills even talking about it right now.
Yeah,
You know,
I
it's
can
just
see it.
incredible. You know.
Yeah.
So, Boots and I had a fabulous relationship, friendship, etc. And I was holding his hand on July 3rd, 2007, in the Nashville hospital when he took his last breath. That's how close I was to the family. And then right after the funeral, his wife Dee invited everybody back to the house,
Right.
you know, and she insisted that everybody go into Boots' study, where I first met Boots and did an interview with him. And she had me sit down in Boots' chair, and I had no idea what was going on. Next thing I know, she pulls out Boots' saxophone and gives it to me.
Oh, Fred.
So it's now in a glass case in my office. I'm sorry, in my home.
Yes.
And as far as I know, it's still got Boots' DNA in it.
Very
I haven't allowed anybody to play it. I fingered a little bit, you know. I got to touch it anyway. You know.
Yes.
I haven't played it, nothing, but it's in there. And since then, I've acquired 2 more of Boots' saxophones. One that he did a recording with. Oh, geez. Ahab the Arab was the name of the song.
Yeah.
And he had this soprano saxophone. I always wanted to own one, and it was his. So I bought it. So I have it now. But I'm trying to think of the guy's name.
I know his name.
Not. I want to say Havens, but it's not Havens.
No,
it's Ravens.
touch of a country
Yes.
accent.
Yes.
too.
Yes. He does a lot of
What-
funny songs when he does songs.
Yes. Yes.
So that's my story with Boots. I'm sticking to it, and you know, I got to play with him many times. I got to tour with him across Florida. He did a bunch of gigs back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So we drove across Florida probably 4 or 5 times, and he's telling stories, and it was just a remarkable friendship. He was just
Oh, fabulous.
just a wonderful person. He really was. I miss him dearly.
You miss him.
I
Of
do.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And actually, if you can get in here, this is where he and I are playing together, doing yet another benefit for the Christina Educational Enrichment Fund, and that's at Glasgow High School. And then, when he was leaving that day, somebody sent their jet to the Wilmington airport to pick him up. So he's standing next to me, and this is his entire band. There's Randy, his son. So Boots says to me, he says, our next gig, they're sending a jet to pick us up to do this other gig. He says, make sure you bring a camera because I'm going to take a picture of us standing in front of the jet. I can do this. I know how to do this stuff.
Yes.
So that's the Boots man.